Hi everyone, um, welcome to my channel. It is a brand new channel that I've just created. Well, I had it for a while, but it was kind of um, just designated to try to organize what it is that I wanted to have on there, the type of content. Um, some of you might know my other channel, which is a really fun and upbeat channel. I do a lot of cooking and love being in the kitchen, but this channel is going to be very different, which is why I named it Carlene Talks. Um, so welcome to my channel. I am a 51-year-old. This is 2022, so I'm 51. I am a mother of 4 adult children, 3 boys, 1 girl, and I've been married for 27 years, 26 years. Um, and I have a good life. You know, I have my family, I have great friends. And so I'm going through a really strange and difficult time right now. And so I'll give you a little bit of a back history on my cancer situation. When I was 30 years old, I had my last son at 27, and so he was only 3. And I was, I can't remember how it happened, but anyway, it was actually my husband who had found like a little lump in my right breast, and it was the size of a pea, really. And I'm very prone to having fibroids. I have like a lumpy tissue type of breast, and I was always told that. I actually had a fibroid removed when I was 21. And so when he felt it, I was like, okay, it's nothing much. That's probably just another cyst or another fibroid. I wasn't really concerned. And he was like, you really should get that looked at. And I was like, yeah, you're a mom of young kids and you're totally busy, you have a lot to do. So I decided to kind of watch it and see, if anything changed or if I felt anything different. And what I noticed was that within a period of about a month, it definitely went from the size of a pea to like the size of, I don't know, almost a dime, like a little bit smaller than a dime, but it had grown significantly. And I was like, okay, well, let's go to the doctor and see what's going on. So I went to the doctor, and again, I was only 30 years old. I have no history of breast cancer in my family at all that I know about. And so when I went, the doctor was like, you're really young and you don't have any history, and we've removed a cyst before or fibroid before, so you're probably prone to that, but we'll keep an eye on it for a couple of months and see if it continues to do anything, if it grows. So another month goes by, and we noticed a small growth, and I was just like, why don't we just take a look at this? So he says, okay, let's go and do an ultrasound. So he booked me in for an ultrasound, and the ultrasound results came back inconclusive. And this was like back in 2001. So things were done very differently back then. And so with the results coming back as inconclusive, he was kind of worried about it. So he was like, you know what, I'm going to refer you to the hospital, and I'll refer you to a doctor who, deals with oncology and can kind of reassure you, take a look and reassure you that everything's okay. So I was like, okay, no problem. So he referred me, and when I saw the doctor, who's also obviously a surgeon, he was like, you're really young and there's no type of history in your family, and I think it's something that we should just monitor. I think if you come back and see me in a year, we'll see if anything's changed. And I was like, a year? I was like, you know what? I just want to have it removed. It's not supposed to be there. If it's a cyst, if it's a fibroid, whatever the case is, it's not supposed to be there. So just take it out. I just want it removed. And at first he was kind of resistant. He was like, I don't think it's necessary to have you, go under surgery. And I was like, no, if it's not supposed to be there, I want it taken out. Not a big deal. Let's just remove it. So he agreed to that. He booked me in for surgery, and it was probably like about a month later. And I had the surgery, he removed it. And of course, anytime you have surgery, anytime they remove anything, they always send it off to pathology to make sure that, there's nothing unknown and there's nothing that is weird or that we need to be aware of. So I was like, okay, sure, no problem. So it was a day surgery. It wasn't a big deal. I had a drain put in. I was home, and I had to follow up with him in 10 days and go back to the office and, remove the drain and kind of, have him take a look at it, make sure that I was healing okay. And I remember going and I parked in the front of the building where you have the parking meters. And I remember putting in change enough for like an hour. And I went in and I, put my name in, and I sat there and waited. And then I got called in to the office, and I remember sitting there, and I had he had this separate section that I could take off my blouse and my bra and put on the little gown that they have for you so that he could examine me properly and remove the drainage and all that fun stuff. And I remember sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this guy doing? I was like, if I get a ticket, I'm going to be so mad. That's what I was thinking. But it was taking such a long time for him to come back. And so, sorry, my screen's changing because my TV's in the background. And that's weird. Anyway. So I remember being really irritated and really annoyed that he was taking so long to come into the office. So finally he came in and he was like, how are you feeling? And I was like, I'm okay. I'm okay. It's just that this thing is not really healing that well. It's really irritating and I just want to take it out. And he was like, okay. So he did what he had to and kind of, redressed me. And then he said, get dressed and come on over into my office, which was across the room. I was like, okay. But he was really kind of somber. And so I was like, okay, no problem. So I got dressed and then I walked over. And he sits there and he rolls his chair in front of me and he says, we have your results back from the surgery that I did. And you have breast cancer. And when I heard that word, I was like, what? And then he said it again. He said, you had breast cancer. It came back that it was cancer. And then he started talking, and I don't even remember what he was saying because all I heard was cancer, and my mind just went into a million different places. It was like he was talking and it was like, wah, 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 because I just didn't even hear what he was saying. And so he kind of got my attention and he was like, are you okay? I know it's really upsetting and it's not what we needed, what we wanted. And it's completely not what I expected. And so he kind of explained to me, this is absolutely nothing that I expected. I'm really surprised and I'm glad that we took it out. But then he says, we do have to do a second surgery because there's an area that we also have to clear that was around the tumor that needs to be cleared. And then he wanted to give me radiation therapy afterwards. And I was like, oh my God. The only thing I could think about was my children. I had really small kids at that age. And so the only thing I could think of was them. And I was just so devastated. And I live about an hour away from where the hospital was because I was like out of town. And I remember getting in the car. He says to me, "Do you need, assistance to get home? Are you okay to drive?" Because he knew I'd come a long way. And I was like, "No, no, I'm fine. I'm going to be fine." And so I leave the office and I remember getting in the car and driving home. And as soon as I got into my driveway, like an hour later, I just broke down and cried. I sat in my car and I probably cried for 15 minutes before I went inside. And it was such a devastating thing because, especially back in the day, I mean, cancer was like a death sentence, is what we thought. This is like back in 2001 where things were nowhere near as what it is right now as far as how advanced things are. And, you just have so much more knowledge about cancers, the different types, and what can be done. And so back in the day, that word was really, really scary. And I just remember having a really difficult time, but putting on a brave face. And so I waited for my husband to come home later that night, and I sat down and told him, and I broke down again. And then I called my mom and I broke down with her. And of course, my best friend was probably the first one that I contacted, and I broke down with her. And it was just like so emotional. It was such an emotional time. And anyway, after all of that, I had the second surgery, which went well. And then I had radiation therapy. And that was 6 weeks of radiation, Monday through Friday. Again, it was like an hour drive to get down there and an hour drive home. And so I would do that. And of course, my husband also worked out of town and he would get home, like later in the evening. And so I was leaving at like 7 o'clock to drive down to the city to get this treatment and then drive back. And so it was very tiring. Radiation makes you feel very tired. It makes you very sore because as you continue to take the treatments, your skin starts to become affected, right? And so I remember every time that I did a treatment a few days later, it would just be so irritated and so burnt, and it was just horrible. And it definitely took away all the feeling in that breast. And so what ended up happening with the surgeries that I had, it was about, I would say, 50% of my breast had been removed. So I had a lumpectomy twice. And then, I had the lumpectomy and then they went back in to take out the radius around it. So a good 50% of my breast was removed. And in addition to that, with the radiation, I had like almost no feeling. So a lot of the nerves were damaged because they did take a few lymph nodes as well from under my arm just to check and make sure that it hadn't gone anywhere. And so I had ductal breast cancer, stage 2, which means that it was still localized. It didn't spread, it didn't go anywhere else. And they also offered me this chemo pill that I could take as like a low dosage, low maintenance chemo pill type thing. And I was like, no, I'm not taking that. Like, if you're telling me that I'm cancer free, then I'm not taking it. I don't need anything. I'm good. And so, that was my journey with that. It took a long time to, I guess, emotionally get over it. Because it was just really a difficult time for me emotionally. But I triumphed through. I had a great support system. I had a lot of people who were really helpful, who were really compassionate. And, it turned into something that, even though it was a terrible thing, I learned a lot. I read a lot to try to understand what it was, what did I have, and I have two sisters that at the time they were really young, they were teenagers, and, we had conversations, and it's funny because now in their adult life, because of what I went through, they definitely are more aware of the cancer. And my middle sister, she definitely has like a follow-up all the time. She goes and gets it once a year, gets her mammogram. And it's because of my situation. And so I guess, there's some good things that have come from having that. It's been 21 years that I was cancer free. And it's been amazing because, I did my annual mammograms and I continue to do them every single year, except for last year. Last year I missed it. But it was great. And so I just want to let you guys know that there is a real importance in making sure that you pay attention to your breast. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you have breast cancer in your family. It doesn't matter. None of that matters because, like we know, cancer doesn't care. And so it's really important that you guys pay attention to any kind of changes in your breast. And just, if you have questions, if you need to talk to a doctor, follow up. There's so many resources that we have nowadays that we can actually, go online and well, I don't recommend you go online with Google too much, too hard, because a lot of the times we just, get ourselves all worked up. But if you have any kind of questions, there's so many resources out there. Contact your doctor, make an appointment. It's the best thing that you'll ever do to put yourself, either at the forefront of what possibly is happening or just to educate yourself and to feel, good knowing that you've checked it out and everything is good. So I would strongly, strongly urge that. And so 21 years that I was cancer free. And I was extremely happy. I took part in a lot of, rallies and fundraisers for breast cancer. I think it is a fantastic organization that's come such a long way. And because of my own experience, I definitely got involved in a lot of different charities and things to help raise funds for that. I'm very passionate about it. And so we fast forward now to 2022. It is June 2022, and another journey begins. And so I will talk to you about my current situation, what is going on, in my next video. On that note, I hope that you guys enjoyed this first video of my channel. Please like and subscribe. I intend to just have a lot of very candid conversations about my health, about, just things in general that I think is really important to women's health. And so I hope that this video was helpful to anyone out there. Please like and subscribe and share, and I will talk to you on my next video. Bye for now.